Good communications, Robin?
Yes, sir.
All right. A couple of minutes, I'll bring the rest of them in. I'm still have my camera muted.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Day. How's the trial going?
Oh, Judge, the jury just went to lunch fortuitously at the same time we had this hearing set, so I don't know. They're kind of loud and contentious back in the jury room, which I think is probably good, but who knows?
Yeah, usually it speaks well. Let's see. Got Mr. Dawson. Hello, Ms. Bradshaw. Hello, Mr. Sufall. You can
Afternoon,
wave.
Judge.
See, you're muted. There you go. All right. I see Lanny is still getting inmates.
1, 2, 8.
Interesting picture, Mr. Dodson. There we go.
Yeah, there we go, Judge.
Still waiting an inmate, so it looks like Lanny is about to walk in with him. So we should be able to get going here shortly. I'm going to take Mr. Day's cases first. He is in the middle of a jury trial with a jury out right now. And so, Mr. Sufall, it'll probably be a few minutes before we come to your folks.
That's perfectly fine, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Hello, Mr. Thibodeau.
Good afternoon.
Good seeing you, sir. This is Ms. Talamantes.
Yes, sir.
Right. Ms. Talamantes, can you hear all right?
Yeah, I can hear just fine.
All right. Well, then court will come to order. This is cause number 17461, State of Texas versus Irma Talamantes. We're here today on a writ of habeas corpus filed by Mr. Day after the defendant. And let's see, is this Ms. Bradshaw's case or Mr. Dodson's case?
It's Miss Hudspeth, sir. I'll be standing in for her.
All right. And looks like currently bond has been set at this matter of 50,000. And with that, Mr. Day, I'll turn this over to you.
Well, Judge, I think my client has been in jail for well over a year. I think maybe something like 15 or 16 months now. And I originally filed a writ. This is the second writ I filed in her case. I originally filed a writ that the court denied, I think because of Executive Order GA 13. And I think GA 13 is of doubtful applicability anymore. And so I filed another writ seeking a reduction of her bond. I don't think it's ever been reduced so far.
All right. And are you going to take testimony from your client, sir?
Sure.
Ms. Talamantes, if you'd raise your right hand and so I can swear you in, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this cause before the court?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may put your hand down. You may proceed.
So I'm going to call you Irma instead of Miss Talamantes because it's easier. Is that all right with you?
Yes, sir.
So Irma, how long have you been in jail at this time?
Almost 14 months.
And how much money do you have to bring to bear to purchase a surety bond or put up as cash?
I couldn't even tell you, sir.
Well,
I myself don't have any, but I do have family and friends that are trying.
all right. And I believe when we had this hearing previously, or a hearing on my writ previously, you indicated that you would be able to live with someone in your family. Is that correct?
Yes, I have a Hempstead address and a job all aligned up.
And what is that address?
Oh, off the top of my head, I know the apartment number is 108, but it's here in town. I can't remember it's on 5th Street and the job is housekeeping at Prairie View College.
And Prairie View A&M perhaps?
Yes,
And,
over there in Prairie View, yeah.
and have you ever had a bond forfeited or surrendered in any other case that you've had a bond on?
I've never been out on bond before in my life, sir.
And so that was going to be my next question. Are you a United States citizen?
Yes, I am.
All right. And are you asking the court to lower your bond to something that you might have a hope of making?
Yes, sir.
One more question. When you mentioned the apartment number, with whom would you be living there?
An old roommate of mine, her name is Jessica Riles. She said that I could have a room. I just have to go to work and help her pay the bills.
All right, I'll pass the witness at this time.
Mr. Dodson. Mr. Dodson, you hear us?
Yes, Judge.
You're standing in, right?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
Ms. Talamantes, if this court were to order you, to wear an ankle monitor or other GPS monitoring device, would you comply with that condition?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Pass the witness, Judge.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Then any argument further, Mr. Day?
I just, as I said, by way of opening, I think that that my client's been in jail sufficiently long, and as I say, I think that GA 13 is of questionable applicability at this time, and so I would request a bond.
Judge, GA 13 is still in effect, and I believe the Supreme Court also recently reissued their emergency order to continue suspension of deadlines. The fact that they're still reissuing that order indicates to me that they're not of dubious applicability. They're still in effect. While, we personally most of us personally are safe from COVID-19, there's clearly still issues with that going on out in the world. I think those orders validly remain in effect. Ms. Talamontes has since been indicted, and given the extreme amount of time she's taken to raise this issue, I think that's functionally a waiver of that issue. Other than that, her bond is set appropriately on the offense. Mere inability to make a bond is not sufficient evidence in and of itself to lower a bond.
Well, just for record purposes, the Supreme Court has issued yesterday evening its continuing emergency orders 39 and 40. So apparently the Supreme Court of the state of Texas believes that we're still dealing with the COVID issue. And the court does take note of the development of the new variant. However, the court does find that under the circumstances, a reduction of the bond to $25,000 will be in order, as well as the court will place a restriction that a GPS monitor be placed on Ms. Talamontes within 24 hours of a release from custody. She'll have no contact with the alleged victim nor the alleged victim's immediate family, and she'll have no contact with any male child under the age of 17 years of age. That'll be all the terms and conditions that I'll have.
Will the court be doing its own order to that effect, Judge?
I will, yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. And you said 25,000, is that what I heard?
You did. You heard
All
it.
Thank you.
All right, that takes care of Ms. Talamontes. We'll take care of Mr. Gautreaux next.
Yes, sir.
Judge, if I could talk to you about Mr. Gautreaux.
Yes, sir.
So there's a plea offer that Mr. Whitmore made in his case. I have not, due to preparing for this trial, I haven't been able to go to the jail to convey it. I sent him a letter explicitly listing all the terms, and I tried to set up a Zoom meeting with him Saturday morning, and I guess the wires got crossed and we were unable to do that. So I would like to go ahead and go forward with the bond hearing, but I just wanted the court to know that there is a plea offer out there. And
All right.
hopefully it won't go away in the meanwhile.
Hello, Ms. Ha, I didn't speak to you earlier.
Judge,
Are you handling the matter for Mr. Whitmore today, or is Mr. Dodson?
I am, Your Honor.
You are, okay. So you'll handle Gautreaux.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Gautreaux.
How you doing, sir?
Good, sir. And am I pronouncing your name correctly?
I think it's pronounced Gautreaux.
Gautreaux.
Yes, sir.
Very well. Well, this is call number CV21 dash, let me start over. Court will come to order. This is calls number CV21-07-0204, State of Texas versus Donald Ray Gautreaux Jr. We're here on a writ of habeas corpus seeking a bail reduction. Mr. Gautreaux is represented by Mr. Day, who's on the network with us, and Ms. Cheryl Ha is standing in for Mr. Whitmore for purposes of the state. And with that, Mr. Day, you may proceed.
Mr. Gautreaux,
Yes, sir.
did you get my last letter talking about the plea offer? This is not actually germane to the bond hearing. I just want to be sure you got it.
You are Conrad Day?
Yes.
Okay, yes, sir, I did.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and proceed with the bond hearing. And if you're able to get out, I need for you to contact me and let's talk about that other issue. So
Yes, sir.
I think your bond is set at $10,000. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how much money do you have to bring to bear to get out on bond?
I might be able to have somebody bring about 300-400.
All right. And where do you live, please, sir?
I live at Sealy, Texas.
Right. What do you do for a living?
I'm self-employed. I'm a handyman, auto mechanics. I work for myself, basically.
Okay, and I believe you're in jail, I think state jail, possession of controlled substance. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I think you're unindicted at this time. So have you ever had any bonds surrendered or revoked in the past?
No, sir.
Are you currently out on any other bonds?
No, sir.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir.
And are you asking the court to lower your bond to something you can make?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Or if they can, a PR bond or something to where I can get out, because as long as I'm in here, I can't make no money.
All right. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Fox?
Mr. Gautreaux, is it true that you were convicted of possession of controlled substance back in 2006?
2006, it's actually 2001, but I got out of state jail in 2006.
Okay. And
I've
You're
been
also-
clean straight ever since, though.
isn't it also true that you were convicted of forgery of a financial instrument back in 2000?
That was ran CC with the controlled substance charge.
Mr. Gautreaux, let her finish her statement. Whenever we're on Zoom, we can only talk one at a time. Otherwise, it wipes out the other person.
Okay.
And weren't you also convicted of assault causing a bodily injury of a family member in 2006?
Yes.
And,
It was a bogus deal, but yeah,
and also in 2017, correct?
yes.
And also you were convicted of disorderly conduct by discharging or displaying a firearm in 2021, back in February, correct?
It wasn't mine, that was my wife's, but yeah.
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Day,
Nothing further, Your Honor.
then arguments?
Well, we're requesting that the court lower his bond and give him something that he can afford to get out on.
And Ms. Hall, anything?
No, I just have a note that we did agree to a $5,000 bond from Sean, so.
I don't remember that. I don't remember getting that, but you said you would. Is that what you said? You would agree? Or
That's what I have a note from Sean.
I'm sorry, I'm unaware of that, but we would request a PR bond, Judge.
Well, due to the nature of the charge and the CCH on Mr. Gautreaux, I can't do a PR bond. Actually, Ms. Hall and Mr. Whitmore nailed exactly what I had written down on my notes here for a $5,000 bond, and I will also order a drug patch. And
All right.
That'll be the best I can do, and I'll prepare the orders.
All right, Judge, thank you. I appreciate it. And you will convey those conditions to me and to Mr. Gautreaux.
We certainly will, sir.
Thank you. May I be excused from this hearing?
You may, and good luck with the jury.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Supal, looks like we're ready to go with your case. Lanny, we're going to do Mr. Fleetwood's cases along with Mr. Supal's. So whoever you have next out of the next four is fine.
It's gonna be
All right.
Chance Prime.
Yes. Backing up.
And Bradshaw, which cases do you have?
I have Mr. Prine and Mr. Momberger.
All right.
Wait, have a seat, that chair right there. Yes, sir. Let me know you can hear, film, and everything. And
right here?
be able to hear. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Sean Prine.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Did I pronounce your first name correctly?
Sir, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Or is it Sean Prine?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir.
Well, then court will come to order. This is cause number CV 21-07-0201, State of Texas versus Sean Prine. We're here on a writ of habeas corpus seeking a bail reduction. Mr. Prine is represented by Mr. Fleetwood. However, Mr. Zach Supal, an associate, is sitting in for today, and Ms. Bradshaw is representing the state in this case as we conduct this hearing on the Zoom teleconference. And Mr. Supal, do you wish to have Mr. Prine sworn?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Prine, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand to be sworn. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this cause before the court.
Yes, sir, I do.
You may put your hand down. You may proceed, Mr. Supal.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Prine, can you hear me just fine?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. I want you to understand something about this hearing today. It's just in regards to your bond. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I will just tell you, even though we're doing this via video conferencing, there is a record being built. So just make sure that you don't talk over anybody that's asking you any questions, and just make sure that when you do answer, you answer verbally. Okay.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And you were arrested on June 10th of this year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you currently have 2 bonds, total of $255,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were previously found indigent by this court and appointed Mr. Fleetwood as your attorney on or about June 10th, right after your arrest.
Yes, sir.
Has there been any change in your financial situation since you were found indigent by this court?
Yeah, there has been a lot. My brother committed suicide recently after I got put in here, and my mom and dad had to dish out the rest of the money to get it out, and I was helping them out there in the world, paying their mortgage. And now they're about to lose everything if I don't get out and go back home.
I understand. And where is home for you, sir?
Right here in Hempstead in Monaville, right down the road.
Okay. And prior to your incarceration, were you working, sir?
Yes, sir. I was working for Homes by Kevin. I just got finished doing the district attorney's chaplain's home, Mr. Tim Junick. He even came up here and saw me, and they know I'm not a flight risk. I'm just trying to get back to helping.
Okay. And what kind of resources financial do you have right now? Obviously, you can't make a $255,000 bond.
I don't have none right now since my parents had to pay for the funeral.
Okay. You have reliable transportation to get back and forth to court?
Yes, sir. I do. I got a car at the house.
Okay. You have a passport, sir?
No.
Okay. You've got contacts with the community?
Ooh, what do you mean?
You know a bunch of people in the community. You're established here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. How long have you lived in this community?
All my life.
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 44.
Okay. You understand judge can place any kind of reasonable condition on you in exchange for lowering your bond. Would you have any issue with an ankle monitor?
No, sir. I would not have any issue with nothing.
Okay. So any condition this judge would place on you, you'd be fine with that?
Yes, sir, I would.
Okay. And I understand very, very difficult situation. It sounds like you got a lot going on at home. But with that being said, you have a phone number or an emergency contact that you could get to me just in case we have another kind of COVID outbreak and we've got to shut down and make sure you've got your court dates?
Yes, sir. It's my mother.
Okay. Could you provide that to me real quick?
It's 281-799-8425.
And if you got out, sir, who would you reside with?
My mother and father right here in Monaville.
Okay. Pass the witness this time, Judge.
Ms. Bradshaw.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Prime, what did you say that you were doing for employment prior to being incarcerated?
I'm working I still have my job. It's Homes by Kevin Gilmore.
And what do you do there?
I do home remodeling.
Okay, what's your current income monthly?
700. Well, no, I make 600 a week, so it's 612, about 2,000, 2,400 a month.
Okay, do you have any kids that you are paying child support for?
No.
And prior to this arrest, you have been convicted of burglary of a building a couple of times. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were also convicted of numerous amounts of misdemeanors. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And also prior to these offenses, you have also been convicted of sexual assault of a child, which is why you're on the registry.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've also been convicted of failure to comply with your registration requirements, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Supal.
Judge, if I just may briefly, Mr. Prine, do you receive any kind of government benefits?
No, I'm not receiving nothing, sir.
Okay. You have any history with MHMR?
When I was in prison, they would put me on medication. They said that I had needed to be put on there for my anxiety and stuff like that, and it helps me, levels me out. But I put in here, I ain't heard nothing back.
Okay. So you haven't received any of that medication since your arrest on June 10th?
No, and I've asked.
Okay. Is it for generalized anxiety disorder? What type of things is it?
Well, I got anxiety, and then I'm bipolar 2, manic depressive.
Okay. Have you had any of those issues when you were residing with your mother in Monaville?
Did I have any? No, I did not have any of them issues, sir. I was working, doing what I needed to be doing, but then I started having the anxiety real bad when my brother just passed away, and they found the suicide letter and everything.
Okay. Do you happen to know off the top of your head what type of medications are prescribed to you or what you were taking?
Yeah, I was taking bupropion and lithium.
Okay. With that being said, do you have any concerns that if you were to be released that you'd have any issues getting back on those medications?
No.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Further, Ms. Bradshaw?
No, sir.
Mr. Prine, what is your mother's physical address?
It's 40350 Hollick Road, Hempstead, Texas, 77445.
And that's where you say you would live if you get out?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Arguments?
Judge, I think the only evidence that we had here today is that Mr. Prine has the ability to make about $2,400 a month when he's out working. However, he's previously been found indigent by this court. Sounds like there are some exigent circumstances that are going on with his family. He's identified some issues in regards to MHMR, not necessarily ones that would indicate that there's any questions in regards to competency, but ones that certainly give a necessity for him to be medicated, especially with everything that he's going through on his family side. He's previously been found indigent by this court about a month and a half ago. At that point in time, there's been no substantial increase in the amount of income that he's received or any sorts of assets. He is established in the community. He has stated that he's willing to comply with any reasonable conditions this court would put on him in regards to bond. So just request that the court lower his bond enough to make sure that he will appear before the court. Since he is local, we have contact information that he's given us that's not only his, but where he would be residing in an emergency contact. I don't believe we'd have any issues in getting him notice and getting him to show up to court. So Judge, I would just ask that his bond be drastically reduced from the $255,000. Otherwise, we're just going to have to do this again when he hits the 90-day mark.
Understand? Ms. Bradshaw?
Yes, Your Honor. As you've heard, Mr. Prime does have a pretty extensive criminal history. Our main concern is the previous sexual assault of a child conviction, as well as the previous failure to comply with registration, because now he's been arrested again for failure to comply with his registration and also online solicitation of a minor. So the state would suggest that if the bond is reduced, that he has certain conditions that are put on his bond, as if not having any type of computer access, the GPS monitoring, and any other conditions that the court sees fit for this particular defendant.
Thank you. Well, on the charge of failure to comply with sex offender registration, on that one charge, I'm going to reduce that $5,000 to a personal recognizance bond. On the Online solicitation of a minor, I see that that's classed as a second-degree felony offense. It's going to be a $25,000 bond, but here are the restrictions, Mr. Prime.
Yes,
You
sir.
will live at 40350 Hollick Road. You will have a curfew, and the curfew hours will be that you must be in the residence between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
if your work situation changes such as your work hours are different, we'll work with that. You'll also be required to stay on your medications. You'll have no computer contact at all. You may use a cell phone, but your cell phone is going to be limited so that you do not have internet access on your cell phone unless it is work related. And you will also be installing an application on your any computer called X3 Watch, and you'll be subject to monitoring by the court. You'll also have a GPS monitor that you'll be required to wear at all times. Now, those will all be reduced to writing. Mr. Sufal and Mr. Fleetwood will have those, and if you have any questions, you can certainly ask them about that.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Anything else, Ms. Bradshaw, you can think of?
No, sir.
All right. Then that completes this hearing. I'll prepare the paperwork on that.
What?
And who has Mr. Gillum?
Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Hall, and do you also have Tadaro?
I believe that's Mr. Dodson.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
be doing Tadaro, Judge.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Gillum. Can you hear me all right?
How you doing? How you doing there, sir?
We can hear you good.
Yes,
Just one little caution here before we start. We have to be careful about talking over one another while we're on Zoom, because when we talk over one another, it completely washes out and we can't hear. Now, can you hear all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I can.
Scoot it up.
You may want to move up a little closer.
Yes, sir.
All right. Chief, you kind of point your camera down just a little. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, court will come to order. This is cause number 20-12-17501, State of Texas versus Daryl Dwayne Gillum. We're here on a motion to release the defendant to set reasonable bail. Mr. Fleetwood is the defendant's representation. However, Mr. Zach Sufal is sitting in today, and Ms. Cheryl Ha is sitting in for the state. These matters are being taken on the Zoom teleconference app. And with that, Mr. Sufal, do you wish to have Mr. Gillum sworn?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Gillum, if you'll raise your right hand so that
Yes,
I
sir.
can swear you in. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this cause before the court?
Yes, sir. I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. You may proceed there, Mr. Sufal.
And could you state your name for the record, please, sir?
My name is Daryl Dwayne Gillum.
And Mr. Gillum, you were arrested back on April 26th of this year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that was on a failure to appear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who was your bondsman?
It was Booker. It was Mr. Joe Booker, and I had bonded out with him, and I was paying him, and I was calling every week and stuff, and then I had got locked up in Belleville, Texas, and I had got out over there in jail. I was over there for a little while, and did no one tell me about anything. So next thing you know, I got out, I think it was in March, and I called the district clerk's office and asked when do I go to court and stuff? Because I make sure that, because I don't like to be playing around with anything. And, I like to be a truthful man and stuff. And that's what that would happen and stuff. Next thing you know, when they pulled me over there at the store and stuff, in my Mercedes, my car was still on and all my money and everything was in my vehicle. And they had told me I had a warrant out for my arrest for failure to appear. And I told them I've been calling in and stuff, you know, every week, and I pays my money and stuff. And I'm right here in Hempstead. And, you know, and then they was like, well, we got to take you in. So they left my car right there at the gas pump and took me to the police department and stuff. And that's when they switched me over and had brung me over to jail, and all my belongings, all my money and stuff, my credit cards and everything was left at the store at the gas pump. And I had insurance on my car and everything. And that would happen, all my paperwork and everything. And I don't know what my car had, nothing right now.
You need to kind of take a breath once in a while, let Mr. Supal ask you questions.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gillum, I guess the meat and potatoes of my question was, you didn't get notice of that court date that you missed?
No, sir, I didn't. I swear, right hand.
Okay. Now, it looks like from the notes that I'm looking at, you had a $20,000 bond that was set back on May 11th this year. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've been basically sitting in this time, and since you're sitting in now, you're unable to make the $20,000 bond?
No, sir, I don't have no money to make it, sir. And then my mom just passed last week and stuff. And I just don't know, you know, I don't have no money or nothing, you know.
Okay. If you were to bond out, where would you reside?
I'm right here at right here across the street in the blue trailer house, or my address where I be at is 20 South of Mechanic Street, apartment number 13 in Belleville, Texas.
Okay. And I know you already testified to this, but poignantly, you don't have any money.
No, sir, I don't. All my money was left in my vehicle and stuff and everything. I swear to report all the time and stuff, sir.
Okay. And you understand
job.
And you understand the judge can place whatever bond conditions on you if he does end up lowering this bond for you to get out. Would you have any issues with that?
No, sir. No, sir. I won't have no issues at all, sir. I show up to court whenever I'm supposed to and whatever, sir.
Okay. And do you receive any kind of government benefits?
No, sir. I was getting the stimulus checks and stuff, but all my cards is in my what you call it, in my car and stuff. And like I said, I don't know where my car at. And plus, I was going to go back to MHMR and stuff. But I was working, you know, out here for Mr. Joe Hall and stuff every single day. And that's what I was doing. And I was just about to get ready and get my, what was it? The, what you call that? Unemployment and stuff. But I haven't received it yet or nothing. But right now I don't have nobody to bum me out or anything, you know. But I swear to show up to court and everything and pay what I'm supposed to.
I understand. And sir, it looks like you were found indigent by this court back on September 1st of 2020. Now, you talked about losing your vehicle and things like that. Since that indigence finding, has there been any substantial change in the amount of income that you've received?
No, sir, I haven't had no money or no income or nothing. No one, only time the jail, I get the call, you know, to, you know, home every Monday when they give a free phone call, but I'm energy right now until, you know, I can go out there in the world and work and stuff and you know, promise to, you know, return to court or whatever I'm supposed to do, sir.
Okay. And I don't want to go into any of our conversations, but since I was introduced to you, you got my cell phone number and you called me from the jail. About how many times do you think you called me since you met me about a month ago?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I call you at least about I say I talked to you about 2 or 3 times, maybe 4, but I call you at least about 12 or 13, 14, 15 times, something like that, you know, but you can't accept it, you know, because I don't have no money and stuff.
Right. And I mean, it's safe to say based on that, you're taking these allegations extremely seriously. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you kind of understand what's at stake here.
Yes, sir.
And with that being said, who else, what other family members and stuff do you have in the community?
I don't have nobody else and stuff, sir. It's just my elder little auntie right here. She stays right across the way right here. Her name is Cookie Lane, and you know, I can't get in touch with her because she's in the house. You know, it's like not even much 100 yards right here from the jail and stuff right here. And for as that, you know, I go around, I try to help people, you know, most as I can. I don't try to go out of town or nothing like that, you know, but I don't have no family and stuff. Rest of my family is up there in Seattle and stuff, sir.
Okay. And you understand one of the conditions the judge may put on your bond is that either you not leave the state or not leave the county. You understand that?
Yes, sir, I do understand that, sir. I
And
do.
you would abide by that condition?
Yes, sir, I do abide by that addition. I
Okay.
won't leave.
Okay. Pass the witness this time, Judge.
All right, Ms. Ha, and Mr. Gillum, just answer the questions that get asked, and don't try to elaborate too much. So don't try to say too much when you answer the question. Just answer the question that's asked.
Yes, sir.
You may proceed.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gillum, isn't it your responsibility to make sure that you keep track of your court dates and show up when you're supposed to?
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to go through your criminal history a little bit. It goes back to 2001. Isn't it correct that you were convicted for aggravated robbery back in 2003?
Yes, ma'am. I had went to prison. I had got caught with a pellet gun and stuff, you know.
Sir, I just need a yes or no.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you were also convicted of criminal trespass in 2009
Yes, ma'am.
and assault causing bodily injury in 2012
Yes, ma'am.
and a theft of property over $1,500 and less than $20,000 in 2011.
Yes, ma'am.
And terroristic threat of a family member or household member in 2013.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And another assault causing bodily injury in 2015.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I believe so. Yes, ma'am.
And disorderly conduct by discharging and displaying a firearm in 2014.
Yes, ma'am. I had they had threw that out because it wasn't my fault. You know, we didn't know that it was in the car, Mr. Hall's car and stuff.
And also criminal trespass in 2016.
Yes, ma'am.
And a possession of a controlled substance in 2016.
Yes, ma'am. I had got caught with some pills and stuff. Some think it was like it was some kind of type of pills. I don't even much remember.
And another assault of a family member or household member in 2016.
Could you say in 2016?
Mm-hmm.
Assault family member. I believe is that when I went to prison?
When did you get out of prison, Mr. Gillum?
I think I got out like what 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. It was for assault on a family member and stuff. But I got all that stuff behind me.
All right.
And then another criminal trespass in 2019.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ms. Hall, while you're looking at that, on the current charge of obstruction retaliation, who is the alleged victim on this?
The complaining witness is an Orange Davis.
Further than
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
And Judge, if I may just briefly.
You may, sir.
Mr. Gillum, I know that Ms. Hall asked you whose responsibility it was to keep up with your court dates. By you calling into the district clerk's office and calling into Mr. Booker's office at least once a week, do you feel like you were living up to that responsibility to the best of your ability?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you do understand now that any future court dates, I believe you're actually on a scheduling order right now. You've got a copy of all those. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. Nothing further at this time, Judge.
Are you asking for a reinstatement? And I don't know whether Booker is still on the list or not. Or are you asking for a new bond?
Judge, I think the issue that we would run into on the reinstatement is then we would have a surety that may not currently still be a part of the bail bond board. Practically, obviously, I'm here asking for a PR bond. So practically it would have the same effect, but I don't know necessarily that we can put a surety that's no longer still writing bonds in this county on the hook for a reinstatement of that bond. Ultimately, at this point, Judge, with a $20,000 bond, Mr. Gillum's going to have to sit in until his trial date or the case gets resolved. He had detailed the information regarding the theft of his vehicle and basically all of his access to financial institutions and money and currency that he would have. This point, it does appear that based on the criminal history that was run through, more importantly than considering whether there'd be a personal recognizance bond or not, if he were to miss court in the future, he would likely be looking at a 25 to life indictment on a fail to appear bail jumping case. I can't think of any greater motivation to show up to court and to comply with your court dates and not miss that than
Yes, sir.
basically be looking at 25 to life on a very technical and easy to prove offense. So Judge, I would just ask the court take that into consideration. I do believe the only way that Mr. Gillum's going to get out will be with a personal recognizance bond. In the alternative, I know that the court probably has concerns with the criminal history that we've run through, that was run through by Ms. Haw. Just ask that personal recognizance bond isn't something that we can do, that the bond be lowered low enough, and I'll get with him on trying to figure out what he can do to get this unemployment information working so that maybe he can get some funds to potentially post some form of a surety bond down the line.
Ms. Haw.
Your Honor, based on the severity of the allegations for this obstruction or retaliation case, as well as the extensive criminal history going back to 2001, and the fact that the original bond was set at $10,000, but the defendant was released and then failed to appear, and then a $20,000 bond was set. The state would actually argue that that's actually too low to keep this community safe and the complaining witness safe. So we ask that Your Honor raise it to actually $30,000.
And Judge, my objection to that would be there's been no motion filed in regards to that. In regards to whatever the allegations are of the pending case, we've heard absolutely no evidence of that aside from what the court could take judicial notice of in forms of the indictment, which is just going to lay out the elements of the offense of which he is currently charged. So at this point, with no evidence in regards to this specific case, I believe the only thing the court could take into consideration would be the prior criminal history that was testified to here in this hearing. So I would just re-urge that the court consider lowering this bond to whatever it deems sufficient.
Well, here's the situation that we run into. I mean, he's indicted on a case that already has a habitual enhancement to it. So he's already facing the 25 to life. By his own testimony, he has very few ties to the community. And my main concern isn't so much that he missed court. I mean, I get it that he was in jail in Austin County, got released, and there was confusion And so that part, the fact that he missed the court, that's not really my concern. My concern is that so many of his prior offenses has to do with either a trespass, a burglary, or some sort of offensive conduct. And he's been under a MHMR and still should remain there. Therefore, I'm going to leave the bond set at $20,000. And I will make a request to the presiding judge that Mr. Gillum go on the trial list as soon as possible.
Hey, excuse me,
Yes,
excuse me, Judge. Can I please, like I have family members, out there and stuff. I've been off my meds and stuff, and I've been doing fine and stuff. And I just, I was trying to get back into school at AIM school and stuff. If I can, get my degrees and stuff back and stuff, sir, and to do more better, with myself. I left all the other stuff. I changed my whole life and everything and stuff, sir. And I was trying to go out there and do more better if I could get back into school and stuff, sir.
well, I appreciate that, Mr. Gillum, but I've made my ruling. And I know that Mr. Supal or Mr. Fleetwood can tell you all about the educational opportunities inside TDCJ. And with that, that completes the hearing.
Thank you, Judge.
So what are you saying? Man,
You live in your bond at $20,000.
man, hell, I ain't going back in there.
Excuse me? Oh, yeah, let's go.
Nah.
Oh, yeah, let's go. Get up. Come on, let's go.
Can we mute that?
Let's go.
Nah.
Thank you.
And Mr. Sufal is correct, Judge. Just for the court's information, Mr. Booker is prohibited from posting bonds in Waller County.
I thought that was the case. I had heard that, but I just couldn't quite remember whether that was
Sorry,
fact.
prohibited is not the right word. That implies some sort of action. He's not licensed, so he can't do
Not
it.
qualified to do it. Yeah. I got you. Don't worry, Mr. Sufal, I don't hold that against him. I mean, he's MHMR. You do this long enough, you figure out that we're not dealing with folks that we might have all graduated from high school with.
Oh, I understand, Judge. I end up telling a lot of my clients that when they meet me, I may be the first person that they've met that's actually cared about them and their situation. And they may not agree with what I'm going to tell them or what I think they need to do. But if they want to get out of the situation that they're in, they should probably heed my advice.
Yeah. Yeah. Good advice. That's 4 of them out there. Chief, I've got you muted. There you go, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Have a seat. This is, how you pronounce your last name?
Tadero.
Tyler Tadero.
Thank you. And Mr. Todaro, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, sir.
You may want to move up to the microphone just a little closer, sir. All right, this is calls numbers 17367, 368, and 369, State of Texas versus Tyler Todaro. We're here on defendant's motion to set bond. Mr. Zach Supal represents the defendant and is appearing on Zoom. Mr. Dodson is representing the state also on Zoom. And is it, I may be incorrect, but it appears aggravated sexual assault of a child, indecency with a child, and then prohibited sexual conduct. All of them have a no bond set. Is that accurate?
Judge,
That's
that's my understanding.
All right. You wish to have your client sworn, Mr. Subal?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Tadaro, if you'd raise your hand, please, to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this cause before the court?
Yes, Speaker.
Yes, sir.
All right, you may put your hand down. And as we start this question and answer, be sure to let anybody asking the question finish their question before you talk. Otherwise, it'll just wash out what you're trying to say, and I won't be able to hear you.
Yes, sir.
You may proceed, Mr. Supine.
Thank you, Judge. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Tyler Tadero?
Okay. And Tyler, you understand the purposes of our hearing today is to try to get a bond set on your pending cases.
Yes, sir.
If you were to get a bond set, where would you reside, sir?
At my house,
And where is that, sir?
25242 Dickens Drive, Magnolia, Texas.
Okay. And who would reside there with you?
My grandparents, my uncle, and my cousin.
Okay. And if you yourself don't have reliable transportation, one of them has reliable transportation to get you back and forth from court, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've got your future court dates that are scheduled. We got those in court last week.
Yes, sir. It would be on the next month on the 12th, I believe.
Okay. You got arrested back in May of this year?
Yes, sir. On the 19th.
Okay. And as far as money goes, I know you and I discussed that a little bit. Exactly what amount of money do you have available to you?
I haven't really looked at my my bank account, but I know I have at least 10,000 in there.
Okay. And you understand you're facing some pretty serious charges.
Yes, sir.
And even if you are to be released, there may be certain bond conditions that you have to comply with. Do you have any issue with that?
No, sir.
And just because you're released, you're still going to have to come back and answer for some of these charges. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And without going into too much detail, you and I have discussed some things that if you were able to bond out that I'd like to get you to do. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir. Yes, sir.
And that's to seek out things like therapy and certain kinds of treatment.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you agreeable to doing that?
Yes, sir.
Who owns that property in Magnolia?
It's not owned. It's a rent. It's a rental.
Okay.
But it'd be my grandparents.
Okay. And aside from the money that you had testified to, do you have anything else that you could liquidate potentially to post bond?
I mean, I got a car or a Yukon.
Okay. But you're probably going to need that to get back and forth to court, right?
My grandparents have a truck. They can take me.
Okay. Do you have any kind of history with MHMR?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Have you ever missed court previously?
No, sir.
Okay. And speaking to bondsmen and things like that, because I'd met with your family at the last court date, you're understanding that sureties are requiring anywhere from 10 to 15% at this point. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
Mr. Dotson.
Yes, Judge. Mr. Tadaro, you were arrested for possession of controlled substance in 2014. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tadaro, you said you would reside with a cousin. How old is that cousin?
18.
Male or female?
Male.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Argument, sir.
Yes, Judge. Mr. Darrow is currently here. He's been held a little over 2 months without bond, Judge. I understand there is an exception to at least one of his charges, but what I would point the court towards is although he's got multiple indictments pending before this court, they all relate to one alleged act. That alleged act in and of itself, I'm not going to get into the details of that, but I didn't want this to be somebody that was appearing before you that looked like they had committed 6 different types of acts. They were currently under indictment for. I think the only information that we got is that he had a arrest 7 years ago for possession of controlled substance. I believe there may have been a point in time where he was arrested for tampering, but I'm not sure that anything is come from that case here in Waller County. We just asked that certain conditions be placed on Mr. Todaro and that he be released. I can state as an officer of the court that I've had countless hours on the phone with family members. I met with them at our last court date. They all seem to be extremely supportive of Mr. Todaro and understand the how serious this situation is and what he is up against at this point. Just ask that something be set here today so we can get the ball rolling on trying to get him out. I would like him to have the opportunity to be out, to pad my file with some mitigation related things and completions of things such as that. So, Judge, I think not only does is he entitled to have a bond set on just about all these cases, but I think to effectively present his story at any point in time in a trial on this matter, it's going to be extremely difficult to do if he's sitting there in the jail.
And Mr. Dobson.
Yes, Judge. Just given the number of offenses and the severity, I would request the court continue. And as Mr. Sufal said, he's not entitled to it on all of them. I would request that he be continued to be held at no bond on those offenses where applicable. And if the court is inclined to set bond, then I would request an amount of no less than $100,000. Just given the severity, along with conditions to ensure the safety of the victim.
Sure. How old are you, Mr. Todaro?
Just turned 27 this year, sir.
Okay. What's your educational background?
Say again, sir?
What is your educational background?
High school diploma.
All right, sir. All right, on the aggravated sexual assault of a child, $35,000. On indecency with a child, $15,000. On prohibited sexual conduct, $10,000. I'm going to issue the condition that you reside at 25242 Dickens Drive, Magnolia, Texas. You'll also have a GPS monitor installed within 24 hours of your release. You'll also have a curfew where you'll be in the residence no later than 9 p.m. and you may leave as early as 6 a.m. for work. You'll have no contact with the alleged victim, the complaining witness. Now, realizing that the allegation is she's a sister, I'm not going to prohibit contact with your parents if you have the same parents. However, you're not to be in any presence of that person, that child, even if that child is in their presence. Any questions, sir?
Yes, sir. So if she comes over to my grandparents' house, do I have to leave?
You just need to make sure your grandparents understand that if she's coming over, you need to get enough warning so that you can leave. I don't want you to inadvertently be put into a position of violating your bond conditions.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Questions, Mr. Sufal?
Judge, and I'll make that clear to his grandparents. The only issue that I would have with that, Judge, is I don't know what Mr. Todaro's current relationship is with his mother, but she is the outcry witness in this case. So with him being an adult, I don't know if there's necessarily any necessity for them to continue to have contact, but I would just ask the court to consider maybe extending that no contact order to his mother as well.
Very well. Then I'll make that as far as the child's mother will be a no contact as well.
That's all I have, Judge.
Mr. Dodson, anything, sir?
No, Judge.
All right, I'll get the paperwork caught up this afternoon on that. That completes the hearing.
Thank you.
14.
What a mess.
Go ahead and see next year.
Zach, I believe, by the way, I believe his prior tampering charge was refused by Elton for the interests of justice.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna ask you to raise your right hand.
All right, Mr. Momberger, can you hear all right?
Yes.
All right, this is cause, let me start over. Court will come to order. This is cause number 21-05-17610, State of Texas versus Eric Momberger. We're here on a motion to release the defendant and set reasonable bail. Mr. Sufal represents the defendant. Ms. Bradshaw represents the state of Texas. We're doing this hearing on the Zoom teleconference. And do you wish to have your client sworn, sir?
I do, Judge, but if I could just inform the court just briefly here, it's not necessarily going to be argument, but Mr. Momberger currently has been in jail since December 26th of 2020. The victim had reached out to me specifically to try to speak to me. I let her know that I couldn't speak to her. I needed to consult with Ms. Bradshaw first to make sure that that was fine. She continued to contact me in regards to drafting an affidavit of non-prosecution. I told her she could go to the arresting agency to try to do that. It's my understanding when she did that, they said they'd already referred it for prosecution. So I then directed her to go to the DA's office and speak with the victim assistance coordinator. I'm not sure what progress was made on that. She did ultimately request that I draft an affidavit of non-prosecution. I indicated to her, because I was representing the defendant in this case, I would not be doing any legal work for her. But she did send me a text of basically what she would have had put in affidavit of non-prosecution. Based on how long Mr. Momberger has actually been in, and I know you're looking at an indictment that says aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The deadly weapon alleged is actually his hands, so it's not that a firearm or a knife or anything like that was used in the commission of this offense. Ms. Bradshaw and I have gone back and forth trying to get this resolved, and we had actually counteroffered with something along the lines of time served for a Class A misdemeanor assault. But since said time, not only myself, but Ms. Bradshaw have not been able to get any contact with the victim. So we have Mr. Momberger sitting, willing to get this thing resolved, and now we can't find a victim. So I believe unless we get this reduced, he's just going to sit there until his trial date. And I believe Ms. Bradshaw is just going to hope that the victim shows up at that point. But with that said, Judge, I wanted to make sure the court was clear on what we were looking at with this one, but I would like to have Mr. Momberger sworn to give testimony.
Before we do that, I'll ask if Ms. Bradshaw has any response she'd like to make as to that.
Your Honor, just to kind of piggyback off of that, I have tried to contact the complainant in this case numerous times. Mr. Sufal has sent me the text message that she sent to him in reference to resolving this case. The state is perfectly willing to make a reduced assault family violence with credit for time served, but I would just need something in my file from her stating that that is what she wishes to do. She hasn't been very cooperative up to this point, but due to the nature of the offense and the injury she sustained, I just could not agree to a PR bond at this time.
Sure. All right, then, Mr. Momberger, if you'd raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this cause before the court?
I do.
You may put your hand down. As we ask the questions and give answers here, be sure and not talk over one another while we're on Zoom. It just kind of washes everything out and you can't hear what's being said. You may proceed, Mr. Sufal.
Thank you, Judge. Eric, you've been in jail since December 26th, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And where are you from originally, sir?
I was born in Papua New Guinea, Port Moresby,
Okay.
and I've been here since the 90s.
And you are a United States citizen, though?
Yes, I became a United States citizen. I am originally a citizen of Papua New Guinea, still am.
Okay. And with that being said, of course, you don't have any family here.
I have no family.
Okay.
I have a 15-year-old daughter.
Okay. Now you've had a $20,000 bond since you were arrested. And then soon after you were found indigent and I was appointed to represent you. Has there been any change in your financial situation since then?
Not that I know of. Ever since I've been in here, I've had no income. Of course, I've been in here, so I haven't been working.
Okay. If there was a bond set low enough or you were issued a PR bond, where would you reside?
My current residence is still the one that I was arrested at, but my preference would be closer to, if possibly my job is still around, would be Amazon, would be in Brookshire.
Okay. And there's currently a pastor at a local church that has your cell phone and your wallet and things like that. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Have you met with Mr. Haley today yet, or is he coming later?
I'm not sure. I believe he's supposed to be here.
Okay. And you understand the discussion that I had with Ms. Bradshaw in the court on this, that really what we're waiting is for the victim in this case to respond to either one of us so that we can move forward on this.
Yes, I'm still in contact with her, so I'm not sure, why she's not in contact with the parties. I'm not really sure about, but I am in contact with her. We're having conversations.
Okay. With that being said, you have any property here that you could liquidate to try to post bond?
I have a vehicle. It's probably not even worth, I don't think it's worth a whole lot, but with that said, that's the only property I have to even drive away from here to go somewhere.
Okay. And you understand, even if you are released on bond, you're still going to have to make those upcoming court dates.
Of course, yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Have you ever had a failure to appear in the past that you know of?
No, never had a failure.
Okay. And now let the judge know a little bit about your situation. You were previously in the Olympics, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I am an ex-Olympian.
And what?
I competed in the 92 decathlon for Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
And I came here originally on college scholarship for track and field.
Okay. And where'd you go to college?
I went to Oklahoma Christian College,
Okay.
Edmond, Oklahoma.
And did you complete school there?
No, I didn't.
How far did you go?
I was a senior.
Okay.
After I retired from the Olympics, I left college.
Okay. You're not gonna have any issues getting back and forth to court, are you?
I have no issues with that at all.
Okay. Do you receive any kind of government benefits?
No, I don't. I don't have any benefits. I think I did receive a stimulus check recently, but I'm not sure about that. I'd have to be on the outside to check all that.
And that kind of gets me into my next question. You don't have access to any of your bank accounts or anything you would have with financial institutions currently being incarcerated. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. You have any history with MHMR?
I don't know what MHMR is.
Mental health, any mental health issues in the past?
No, I don't.
Okay. Pass the witness this time, Judge.
Ms. Bradshaw.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Momberger, you said that your residence will be the same as where you got arrested. Is that correct?
No, it isn't. But legally, because I haven't been evicted, I believe that's the only one on record. But my intent when I get out of here will probably be at a motel where I'm going to be paying monthly, and it'll be closer to Amazon because I believe I still have my job there.
Okay, so you're
That's in
working,
Brookshire. That's at Goya Park. So I'd probably be in a motel in Brookshire,
okay,
which is my intent. Well, and I'll be in the county, so because of court date, it'd be easier for me to be at my court hearings or whatever date I need to turn up to court.
so the truth of the matter is you're unsure of where you're going to go if you're released from jail, is that correct?
Well, I'm pretty sure where I'm gonna go. I'll be there at the Embassy Suites Hotel in Brookshire. If I get released from here, that's where I'm gonna go and check in. That's for sure.
And how do you intend to pay to stay at the Embassy Suites?
Well, my friend Derek has promised to help me out. I do have some money that Ed from church has said that I have. And so I will be able to get a kickstart with help from my friends and a few
Okay.
of my funds left.
And you said that you were working at Amazon in Brookshire, is that correct?
I was, and I believe I still have my job when I get out of here.
Okay, what were you doing at Amazon?
I was a intake receiver worker on the dock for Amazon.
And how much are you making at Amazon?
I was making $15 an hour.
And you said that you're still in contact with Miss Davina, is that her name?
Yes, Devonna Irvine.
And you understand that as a term and condition of your bond, the judge can order you not to have any contact with the
Yes.
complainant in this case.
Yes,
And
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine because I do not intend to be here at that residence.
Okay, so you don't plan on moving in with Miss Devonna at the Embassy Suites when you get out?
That is right, ma'am. I will not do that.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Further, Mr. Supal?
Yes. Mr. Momberger, you have reached out to Mr. Derek Haley to try to assist you in posting bond previously. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And his indication, maybe that he made to you, I know he's made it to me, is that he's not going to assist you in posting bond.
That is true.
Okay. But how do you know him?
I know him from college.
Okay.
He was my college roommate.
Okay.
And I've been in touch ever since.
And he actually, he's agreed, to the best of your knowledge, to come and help you when you are released, to take you out, get you closed, get you taken care of, get you set up with some place to stay.
That is true. Since you asked me that, it is true that if I ask Derek to help me with financially, he will do it, but I refuse to do that just out of pride.
No further questions, Judge.
All right. Arguments? Or I think I've heard really what I need to know. Anything else from the state? Ms. Bradshaw, anything from you, ma'am?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Well, I'm going to kind of take a risk on Mr. Momberger and set the bond at $2,000. I'm going to say, as far as the complaining witness, there will be no physical contact. However, I will not restrict text or phone contact so long as it is remaining courteous. If I get any allegations that there is verbal abuse going on either through text or phone, you'd be subject to having your bond revoked, sir. So if you do have a phone contact or text contact with her, be sure and keep it civil. And I'll prepare the paperwork on this and get it filed this afternoon.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, that completes the hearing.
Thank you.
Well, folks, anything further?
Nothing from the state, Judge.
All right, well, y'all all have a nice afternoon. Looks like I'll be working on paperwork for a while.